Today, I'm going to show you how to transform your spices from messy, unworkable clutter to organized happiness. And once you set up this system, you won't turn back. Welcome to Simple Fantastic Kitchen. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. There are so many ways you can store spices. Most, honestly, I find a little impractical. They only account for standard size spices, beautifully arranged, but impossible to maintain. And what happens when you buy bulk size spices? Do those live in a separate area from your beautiful spice drawer? How could I incorporate all of my spices into something appealing and functional? How to avoid looking bulky and jumbled and create something with multiple sizes that still feels cohesive? I set out to create a system that could do just that. My inspiration for this system is my own completely unruly spice drawers. 2 layers deep. I usually don't even realize I have the spice I need. After I bought another turmeric, thinking we were out, only to find we had 3 brand new already, I knew it was time to get down to business and organize my spices. I created a 4-step system that covers everything in detail, and you'll want to stick around till the end where I'll show you the crucial last step in making sure your spices are fully functional. And by the way, this system works for tiny kitchens like mine, larger spacious kitchens, and everything in between. So let me show you my 4-step spice system. Step number 1, take inventory and measure. Have a bare kitchen counter or tabletop. Remove all the spices from the drawers and place them on your countertop. That's drawer number 1. And that's both drawers. Now measure the drawers. Be sure to get the width, depth, and the height. Then clean the drawers thoroughly. Now, I have to tell you, I have one more basket of extra spices. Now that we have all the spices on the table, let's put like spices together into groups so we can see how much I have of each spice. As you can see, I have a large quantity of most of my spices. Yes, I have overbought, but these are all spices I use pretty regularly. So part of my system is to find larger spice containers, then marry all the different bottles of one unique spice into one larger container. Empty spice jars are easily available online and come in a few different sizes by fluid ounce. I opted for BPA-free food-grade plastic as I need them to be as lightweight as possible. They will be living in drawers after all. I opted for empty containers that are 4 ounces, 9 ounces, 16 ounces, and 32 ounces. These all have black multi-purpose screw-on caps, and it makes them feel uniform even though they're in different sizes. With the multi-purpose caps, you can open one side and pour, then open the other side and shake out your spice. So how did I determine what sized containers I would need? Interestingly, it wasn't by looking at the label of the store-bought spice. There are ounces written there, but those are measured by weight and not by volume. We need to measure by volume. So how do we do that? Well, I will show you what I did. These are the Costco-sized bulk containers. We will find out their volume by pouring one directly into a measuring cup. This is at 16 ounces already, and we have a bunch left over. So pour the rest of this in and see what the real volume is. 8 ounces, 8 extra ounces. So that whole large Costco container was 24 fluid ounces. Now I will take a standard size spice container. You can repeat what we just did, or if you have an empty container, you can fill it with water and test it that way. This is filled almost to the top. Then we pour the contents into a measuring cup. As you can see, this is almost 5 fluid ounces. So most bottles of this size are going to be 4 to 5 ounces, depending on how full they are. So if you do this for every vastly different size store-bought container you have, you will know the volume for that container. You can estimate for the others. And you should be aware The empty spice containers do give a little wiggle room. So the 4-ounce empty container should hold any standard size spice. As we start to inventory, be sure to check your spices' expiration dates. If they've expired, go ahead and throw them away. Next, get a sheet of paper or write on your computer. A spreadsheet is excellent for this. Now make 4 columns, one for each sized container: 4 ounces, 9 ounces, 16 ounces, and 32 ounces. Now go through your spices, inventory each kind of spice you have, and estimate the total number of ounces for that spice. Then write that spice down in the column with the appropriate sized container. For instance, I estimate that I have 24 ounces of bagel seasoning, plus 2 more jars that are standard size. So that puts it right at about 32 ounces. So I will put bagel seasoning in the 32 ounce column. After you have your complete list together, you will have a great idea of the quantity you will need of each sized container. Now we have to see how many will fit in each drawer. The dimensions for each size container is available online. Even though these containers sit flush against each other, it's good to allow a little extra room when planning on how they will fit inside your drawers. But in general, you can take your dimensions and divide them by the thinnest side of the container if that side fits in your drawer height-wise. Just go row by row and see how many of each spice you can fit. I recommend not stacking your spices. After all, that's how I got into this mess in the first place. Now it's time for step 2, get your containers and accessories. Let's order the correct number of empty spice containers in the appropriate sizes. And let's order a few other helpful items, including these wonderful spice labels. They have hundreds of different spices and empty labels, just in case they don't have a spice listed. I'll also get a nice white pen set with varying sized writing tips, a wonderful funnel kit, and some non-adhesive drawer liner. By the way, I will link all the products I am using today in the description in case you want to check them out. Now, I just have to wait till tomorrow when everything will arrive. My spice jars arrived. The first thing to do is dry fit them into the drawers to make sure my calculations are correct. Okay, everything looks great. Now it's time to clean them. I thoroughly wash the spice bottles and lids. I'm using a wonderful bottle brush that helps me get into all the nooks and crannies. Then lay everything out to dry. By the way, most of the lids have a freshness seal, which you can use if you'd like. I wipe all of them down with a Lysol wipe, then store them for potential use later. I also wash and dry the funnel kit I bought. I tried to use the funnel I already owned and it didn't work so well. I need a larger opening for the spices. I found this funnel system with multiple sized heads that just screw on. I'm very happy to have it. This has some canning and straining heads as well, so it's very versatile. Now it's time for step 3. Let's fill and label our spices. And let's start by filling a 32-ounce container with onion powder. Now, the one thing I don't know is if this will wobble a little bit here. I don't even think we need it. Look at that. This fits perfectly just like that. I will hold this just to be safe, but I don't think it's going anywhere. When dealing with really powdery spices like this, feel free to place down a cloth first, unless you want to season your tabletop. One thing I would suggest is do it a little further away from all your bottles, just because it's very powdery. We will take the other onion powder, pour that in. You know, it's okay if it's just like a little bit different colors. That's all right. It's gonna marry well. Everything's gonna be fine. I'm just going to rinse this out. It's like no big deal. And then I'm just going to dry it really quickly. I think that'll be the fastest way to just move from one spice to the next. I don't think you need to really wash it with soap and water. Just, you know, make sure it's dry before you do the next one. So we'll take one of the large tops, screw that on. And for now, honestly, I'm going to keep off the freshness seals because I normally take them out like when I open a seasoning container. And then you can see there's 2 different colors because it's a different company that makes it. So what I'm going to do is take a long spoon and just stir it around inside just to make it a little more uniform for myself visually. But I did try to shake it up the other way and it didn't really work as effectively as I would like. So carefully just sort of blend it a little bit. That's a little better. And now the last part is going to be to put the label on the side, and mine are going to be sticking up this way. We're just looking for onion powder. And there it is right there. So we're just going to kind of look at this and see where we want to put the labels to make them all look uniform. So I'm feeling like dead center is good. If we dead center it for each of these and if I match them well, I think that will be our best bet. Just take the onion powder sticker off. We want to be dead center with this. Oh, look how pretty that looks. So next up, we're going to do Italian seasoning. The onion powder is going to act as my template. I'm placing it right next to the Italian seasoning. Then I'm using a cereal box as a straight edge so that the bottoms of each container are exactly in line. That way I have the best shot of matching the placement of the labels as I affix them. Hit it smack in the middle so that they're right next to each other. Look at that. Look how beautiful that looks. Let's move on to the next one, paprika. Lucky for me, they have 4 different kinds of paprika. We're just going to use this for this one, but I also have Hungarian paprika, so I'm really glad that they have both. I'm just going to come in with this so that these are all completely level. You can use anything. It doesn't have to be a Magic Spoon cereal box. It can be whatever you would like. And there you go. Let's move on to the next one. Garlic powder. I feel like we can do this one just directly in. They have a number of granulated garlic possibilities here. We're just going to go with the granulated garlic powder. So we're going to transfer the basil. So for the basil, we have all of these different options here. We're just going to go with regular basil. So we're basically pouring everything into here for the everything bagel seasoning. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find a bagel seasoning label, so we will use our fine point white gel pens to write on the blank labels. This is attempt number 1, and it's honestly not bad, but it's not as good as I would like it to be. So I'm going to try attempt number 2. I think practice will make perfect with this. I'm going to do a 0.6 for the seasoning. Kind of had 2 trials at it here. I'm really happy with this second one. I'm going to just put my hand on the top one, try to smudge it, and I don't think it's smudging. I did a few more layers on this second one here. So I'm just going to give it a little time to dry up a little bit. All right, do you think it's dry? Let's see. I think it's dry. Look at that. That looked nice. You know the drill. We're going to do the same thing again. We also don't have exactly what I want for this no salt seasoning, so I will hand write the label. We just have to let this dry. Okay, we're going to give a quick test. I think we're good to go. That looks great. Now we've finished with the 32-ounce containers. So let's start with bay leaves on our first 9-ounce container. So let's take these. These are always a little more stuffed upright, so they are a little bit more challenging. And just go ahead and put that on. I think all of the sides are exactly equidistant on this. So we have 3 different options for this. We're just going to do bay leaves. And of course, this is our first 9-ounce, so we're going to decide where it goes. Sort of dead center in the middle of it. I think that'll be prettiest. Look how beautiful that is. Next up, Hungarian paprika. So this is the right size here. So here's the funnel. Just hold this in place. Next up is going to be parsley. Wonderful. We have a few different kinds of parsley here. We're just going to do regular parsley. So now we're going to put some nutmeg into a 9-ounce. I wonder if we can just go straight in like that. Now, again, they are slightly different colors because you're marrying 2 together, but it is no big deal. Just shake it up. Again, we have 3 different kinds of nutmeg. We're just going to go with regular nutmeg. All set.
So now we're going to take our dill weed and we're going to put it into this 9-ounce container. Perfection. We have several different kinds. We have dill, dill seed, and dill weed. We are just going to pick dill weed for this one.
In our 9-ounce containers, we also have furikake, Chinese 5-spice, and garlic and herb seasoning. Now, let's start with ginger on our first 16-ounce container.
I think we can dump these directly in if you just tip it a little bit. One thing to note is that the 16-ounce and the 9-ounce lids are the same size, but they are a little bit different. So to keep everything uniform, these are the 9-ounce and these are the 16-ounce. So we'll just put that on.
The ginger brands had slightly different colors, so I just shook it and it mixed perfectly. My plan is for the 16-ounce containers to be at the very top of the drawer, and we have to make sure we are placing the label where it can be seen. So let's test the placement before we fix the label.
So I think that if it's dead center right here, I think we're gonna be just fine, but it's gotta be right dead center here. So we have ginger, ground ginger, we have all manner of ginger. I think we'll put ground ginger on it. And we want it right in the center. I think that's absolutely lovely.
Now let's do the turmeric.
Let's try to drop it this way. We just have the one turmeric, so that's what we're gonna use.
Next up, cilantro. Then cumin.
We have 3 different kinds of cumin. You know what? Let's use ground cumin. Looking good. We've got this wonderful Cuban spice. Here's what you need to know. 4 of these fit perfectly into a 16-ounce container. So we're gonna go with that, and then I'm gonna use this spice up on something later today.
Next up, dill seed. Then oregano.
We have oregano, Greek oregano, Mediterranean oregano, and Mexican oregano. We're just gonna go with oregano.
Then herbes de Provence. Let's start with coriander on our first 4-ounce container.
Let's see if this is really 1 for 1. I measured this out, and if you go all the way up to here, it's 6 ounces. So hopefully we are good to go. And it's an optical illusion that this one is so much bigger than this one. So we have this little size right here. I'm gonna go ahead and attach this. Look at that! It's an optical illusion. So we have a couple of options here. Coriander, ground coriander, and coriander seed. I think we're gonna go with ground coriander. Each side is exactly 1.5. So there is no longer side. And then we're just gonna try to put it dead center. Oh goodness, look how pretty. We're gonna do the same thing again, this time with cayenne pepper. Full bottle here. Not even full here because this actually holds 6 ounces. I went a little bit too far to the right. It really doesn't look great. Let me see if I can redo it. This is a real testament to how stickable these things are. Let's see if I got that better. Yes, much better. Okay, for this next one, we're just gonna do some tarragon.
Next up, Ras el Hanout.
Beautiful. We're gonna do the pizza seasoning now. Lovely.
Next up, rubbed sage.
So we're gonna do rosemary for this one. This one is going to be organic rosemary. Beautiful. Caraway seed. Lovely.
Next up, sesame seed. then toasted sesame seed.
We're going to go with a mild curry powder. This is going to be a spicy curry powder. There we go.
This is a third kind of curry powder. Let's try to use just the attachment funnel piece and see if that works. Worked pretty well.
There's a bunch of options left for us here. We're just going to go with regular curry powder.
Next up, ground allspice.
We're going to do ground cloves.
Then saffron.
This should just go right through.
Then thyme leaves.
Beautiful.
And finally, we're ready for step 4, the spice drawer. First, we take the non-adhesive liner and cut it to fit the drawers. I'm using this wonderful Gorilla Grip brand. It will protect the spices nicely. Once you're sure it fits, use your first drawer liner as a template for your other drawers. Because the width of my drawers are just a little under the 12-inch width of the liner, I won't cut the width, but instead just allow it to come up a little on the sides. Being sure to press it down snugly into the corners so it stays in place. I will fill the drawer now. Once the spices are all in, I have a 1.5-inch gap right at the top. This is significant and allows for major spice sliding when the drawers open and close. I'm hoping the liner will stop the spices from moving. Let's test it.
That is too much space.
With all the movement, you can't see the labels on the back spices, which just will not work. But I have a solution. Spacers. I recommend going to the baseboards and trim section of your local hardware store. My hardware store has the perfect 11/16 by 1/5/8 board that they sold me in a 2-foot section for less than $5. The gap I have is 1.5 inches, so I had them trim it down to 1.25 inches. You need a 1/4 inch of wiggle room to get the spices in and out easily. Then I gave them the width of my drawers and asked them to go just slightly under that, like less than a 1/16 of an inch. First, we take the back spices out and then put it all the way in the back. Put the spices back in and check the fit. Okay, looks good. Let me close the drawer and open it again. This is perfect.
Just the teeniest little gap. Not even noticeable.
And you can see the labels in the back perfectly. Now I can easily take my spices out and put them back in again. In terms of spice placement, it's very difficult to do it alphabetically because of the different sizes. So I like to do it aesthetically, putting the spices I used most in the top drawer. And might I add, putting the 9-ounce shorter spices in the middle helps me to get a good grip on each spice. You will find your own placement in your drawer because my drawers are very small. So you might have a little more room in your drawers where your spice placement works better for you another way. This is what works for my drawers. And if you noticed, some of the 4-ounce spices are missing from these drawers. That's because I dedicated a nearby tiny drawer for those. I put the liner in, then arranged them. I also got clever with the spacers for this. I'm using the empty saffron jars at the very back where they can't be seen. I am so happy with how my spice drawers turned out. Thanks so much for spending this time with me and my spices. I would love it if you would give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. I have more kitchen organizational systems, kitchen product reviews, recipes, and a fun food and travel series. And all the products I'm using today are in the description below in case you want to explore them. So what's your favorite spice? Leave me a comment and let me know. Okay, I'll see you on the next one.